Hi, this is Bryce Van Patten from Metal Express Radio, and today I'm talking with the artist who is known for King Diamond, Dream Evil, Therion, Notre Dame, Dimmu Borgir, Merciful Fate. Just the list is pretty long.
Yeah.
Mr. Snowy Shaw. So, hi, Snowy, and how's your day going?
Hey there. Thanks for having me. I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit tired. I mean, after all, it's Friday, so I open a beer here and try to kick back a little bit.
Absolutely. I was saving my beer for after the interview. So I wanted to ask you first off, so you have a new book, the Book of Heavy Metal. And what inspired you to put together a book?
I got to say that it actually started out as some sort of homemade, therapy, because I reached a point in life when I sort of like turned 40. After that, I had some sort of midlife crisis there, and I had like two choices: either jump from the bridge or seek professional help. I figured and spend shitloads of money on that in many years. But then I had sort of like another idea of just sort of putting black on white, writing about my problems to sort of distance myself, about my life in general. Because, I mean, you hit sort of a crossroad when you turn, at least it is like that for me, even if I turn 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, so it's like you need to do some reevaluation or summation. Okay, so where have this gotten me and stuff, and how should I change in the future? So that is what started this. And once I figured out that, wow, I could see some light at the end of the tunnel all of a sudden, I got some positivity back and stuff. So I figured, okay, this works. So I decided to keep a journal or diary, if you want. And, off and on, I was writing about stuff, reflections and stuff when I was out touring or whatever I was going through in life. And after a while, I was like, okay, maybe other people want to read about this too, because, I mean, my life's been kind of a constant ups and downs in a rock and roller coaster, and my struggle and all that. So it's all not glitz and glamour like a lot of people have this kind of romanticized illusion about the whole thing,
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I understand that. So I found I haven't finished the book yet. I'm quite a ways into it. But it was really interesting to hear that you ran into Mickey D. Your first contact with him was when you were in school.
Yeah.
And there was some drummer you heard about playing in a band that previously had a crap drummer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I had just basically started out. I was 13 years old, started out playing drums, and they were just a local band playing in an auditorium in my school, or kind of pop rock band or whatever. And they got a new drummer, and my friend, who didn't know too much about music, he was like all, fired up about this new guy. Yeah, he's so great and has the biggest drum kit like Peter Criss, like 6 tom-toms or something like that, And I was like, I just figured, you don't know shit, that guy. So anyway, but during, one day at the school, I just heard distant, like banging something, and I followed the sound and walked into this auditorium. And there was Mickey D playing drums, and I was stood there totally frozen in that spot. And it's like, that's the most impressive thing I've seen, because, he had been playing for 13 years because he's 5 years older than me. And, so he became automatically, like from that moment on, sort of like a teenage idol or something. I mean, it's good. I was fortunate enough to have such a strong character, I guess, as a role model or idol or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when you got the chance to play with King Diamond, how did that feel? How did that feel stepping into where Mickey's footsteps, so to speak? Was there pressure, or of course there was?
I gotta say, I mean, Mickey, this was like on Christmas Day. I was living out of town and came back home to Gothenburg. He was living in Los Angeles with King Diamond, and he came back to celebrate Christmas and all. And sort of the annual thing, you go out on the Christmas Day to party and hang out with your friends and stuff. And he was saying that, I'm planning on quitting King Diamond. I think you should be the perfect replacement for me. You should step in to take over after me. But I figured that is just the alcohol doing the talking here. So I just like
sounds great, but is this really going to happen? Right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I always wanted to do my own thing. I mean, I was like a huge Merciful Fate fan and also a King Diamond fan. And so I didn't, pick him up on that or anything. But so a couple of months later, Pete Black contacted me and were kind of chasing me to have me play drums with his bands or his projects, future projects or whatever. But so he came up with that. He said that we've been in Los Angeles now, auditioned over 40 drummers or something,
wow.
and it's not working out. So, and I think you should give it a try here. And I figured, I mean, this is meant to happen, but because it's the second time. I mean, I cannot turn down such a great offer twice.
Right.
So yeah. So
right. So it's really happening. So
yeah.
And I won't ask you about recording the Eye, as you mentioned. You're tired of telling that story. But
yeah, just like I say, I made a sort of a pact with the readers. Okay, so
that's okay. You've got one page, right? That's plenty.
I don't know what page it is. I don't know, but I mean,
you kind of talk about it for a page, and then you say, "Moving on, we're done."
Yeah, exactly. Can we leave that now and move on in life? I mean, just because of a, let's say, a slip of a tongue that I did when during an interview in '93 with Metal Maniacs or something, I happened to say a little bit more than I was supposed to. And I have to suffer for that for 30 years now, or almost.
Yeah. I have to say that's when I first you came to my attention, because I was a big fan of Merciful Fate and King Diamond, and in America, the music scene for heavy metal has been not that great for a long time. So bands coming out of Europe have always, it's always been a great thing. So I do love the Eye, but I always thought it was that I couldn't figure out the drum sound, So, but knowing the history now, I understand completely, right? But I mean, I still love those songs. I still love the album, and but as far as obviously. That's not something you would do in the future, use triggered drums or anything like that.
I gotta say that people tend to sort of have kind of like weird idea about how things work nowadays in the studio, for example.
Right.
I mean, if you say something that something's programmed or you play on digital pads, they're like, wow, that's fake, that's synthesizers and stuff. I mean, it's so narrow-minded, I gotta say, because nowadays, I mean, you everything is quantized, everything is sound replaced, everything is this and that, and everything, so
right.
Yeah, a lot of drummers, for example, I mean, like Fredman, the guy, people come to the studio, Fredman, wow, and they just play with their hands, and he's like, hey, in the talk back here, are you not going to play with your feet? No, I can't do that. You do that afterwards, add bass drums afterwards. I mean, there are so much, copy paste, all kind of fucked up things that you do in afterwards, So people have. It's just like saying, those like Depeche Mode and all those bands, way back when it was like some sort of competition or struggle between heavy metal and synth pop or whatever you want to call that. Yeah, but they don't even play real instruments. They just push a button and it starts playing. Yeah, but you still got to write the fucking songs, right?
Yeah, someone still has to write that part. And though I know there's a lot of bands out there that are using these new programs like Virtual Drummer, where they just put in the drum parts and the whole thing plays. And let's say for my sake, I cannot play keyboard very well. But all the keyboards on my album, I just fix that in the computer. I have a program, just like programming drums. Okay, you program those chords. I mean, I have the musicality obviously and the ideas, but since I'm not that good with the fingers playing two hands keyboard, so why should I do that? I mean, it's the end result that matters, right? Yeah, it's in the studio, and I know that a lot of people don't realize. They think everything's one way, and then like you say, there's this real life of a musician, and then there's this what people think that because you've been in all all these bands like Merciful Fate and King Diamond, they think that you're a rock star living the high life, when in reality, you mentioned that you're collecting unemployment while you're in 3 different bands, right? And
exactly. Yeah, but I don't know who sort of picked me to reveal all the secrets or sort of for this book, but I couldn't help it. I need to sort of kind of spill the beans and tell it how it is behind the scenes, like the real life of it, because I mean, you get all those kind of really, in my world, let's call it like occupational damage or whatever, because I mean, to me, it's nothing strange when people have like backing tracks on stage, with strings or symphonic things. But absolutely. I remember specifically one time we played somewhere in Latin America with Therion, and we had some reviewer guy there. He wrote, I went to see Therion last night. They were awesome. They brought a full symphony orchestra with them. But because of lack of space, they had to be backstage in the parking lot. Okay, so it didn't have anything to do with the computer by the drummer? No, okay. Right. Well, I mean, to me, it makes perfect sense. But people seem to think that comedians just go up on stage and improvise. I mean, they don't have a script. I mean, it doesn't work like that. So I'm kind of revealing a bit behind the scenes what happens really,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember seeing Halloween, and the drummer has a laptop, laptop next to him, and of course it's where all the symphony or any keyboards or any harmonies that can't be reproduced, of course all this stuff is done, and now it's normal, but people, I guess. Yeah,
but if you have no insight or no knowledge of that, I mean, it doesn't work like that. I don't want to spill too much about it here, but you can read about it in the book. But I was doing the interview with this woman upstate New York or something. It's like, wow, when you did that album, it must have been great to get together with the old guys and, talk old memories and stuff like that. It doesn't quite work like that. I mean, 2 of the guys that live in America, 2 of them live in Denmark. They just send the files to me in Sweden, and I recorded the drums and send it back. So I never met the guys. That's how it works nowadays.
Yeah, things are different. I did want to ask you, when I first heard of Dream Evil, I had in America at the time, like Saint Anger had come out, and there's this whole thing of like, in America, how heavy metal shouldn't have lead guitar anymore. And it was making me sick, basically. Everyone's cutting their hair and saying we don't want lead guitar and trying to chase these trends. And I get this magazine called Sweden Rock, and in it is a sampler disc. And I find this song on it, The Book of Heavy Metal. And I'm just like, who are these guys? This is when everybody's trying to be so serious, you know what I mean? Yeah. All of a sudden, something just lays it out, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I was just like, so.
But that was our third. Yeah, that was our third album. It started out before I joined the band. I was on the first album, but I didn't, just as a session guy because I didn't want to join the band. But then it was kind of serious, but I thought it was so cheesy that they were not even aware of it. So I said, hey. This is
well. How many songs have the word rock in the title? Like, let's make rock.
Yeah, but I got to tell you a story. Rock. Yeah, but Fredman, he's this award-winning mega producer who win awards, blah 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 all over the world. And he calls me down to the studio and he says, "Yeah, I want to form a band with you." Because you're such a hard-hitting drummer and all. I have this guitar whiz from Greece, and it's like really shredder or a fast guy. Yeah, and he played me some songs on his unplugged, Stratocaster. And this is called Heavy Metal in the Night. He said. I was like, and the other song was Heavy Metal Jesus, and I thought, is this Canon camera or something? Yeah, because I thought, is this a joke? Because. I kind of invented that saying "heavy metal in the night" because like in the mid 80s, everything became so popular, and all the bands were singing about "and the Dano in the night." Like wow, you're not supposed to be up after 9 if you're 10 years old. So in the night, it's so loaded, so exciting. So heavy metal in the night, and that became a sort of expression that spread around, and he ended up writing a song about it. But it's a joke, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just, I just thought it was so funny that they just blatantly say, let's make rock. a stretch of rock, but I love it. There's something about it that's just fun, because it's not so serious, and it's just, I don't know, it fits for heavy metal. So
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I sort of have mixed feelings about that whole thing. I was like such a diehard Manowar fan because they also had this motto of death to false metal, and in the 80s and everything became so sort of MTV, radio friendly commercial, blah blah blah, and I fucking hated that. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean. It's kind of hard to be 42 years old and sing about fighting with dragons. It's a kind of childish thing, isn't it?
I have to say that I think your book will really appeal to musicians, for one, because, when you write a book, the goal is to have people find a connection. And
absolutely.
I think musicians will definitely find a connection with things like you talk about how many bands you were in that just practiced endlessly and never got a gig and then fell apart, or guys that their idea of being a band was their weekly get together with their friends to drink and party, and you eventually
find it was basically an excuse.
It's this great guy, we love him, everybody loves him, but it doesn't work, because it's just a party guy. So
yeah, but there's all kind of situations, and you got to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is this because I can't get laid otherwise, or is it because you fantasize about, wow, I want to be rich and famous? But I mean, it's not the 80s anymore, so no, it's not going to happen anyway,
So I remember seeing a video when you were recording Book of Heavy Metal, and is it true that you weren't wearing pants for that drum session?
That is kind of thing. I'm not a streaker or whatever you call that, but I like to not be limited by any tight clothes or anything like that. So when I'm going to be creative, it's like, let's drop all the clothes. I mean, I can have underwear at the most if there's people around. Otherwise, I'm totally nude, I suppose. Just so I can feel free, kind of. I don't know.
Just less limiting when you're putting your emotion and things into your music.
Yeah, just so I can move around easily and stretch out or whatever.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to ask about. I thought the Notre Dame was very, very interesting. How you created a project, and I don't want to give it all away, but what do you think of just that concept of just being able to say put together a band, and then the people see this whole thing, right? And then, but in reality, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. There's a lot going on behind the curtain. So, but
but it actually, after so much pomp and circumstance, trial and error, butting heads with people, trying to find the right people and being frustrated and all that, I reached a point eventually when I realized that I could do it myself, because I appeared on this Kiss tribute, and that was the first time I played all the instruments and sang myself and all. So I was like so pissed off because I had been struggling so hard to get my visions across and my ideas, but it's always hard if you have to be a sort of a democratic band and to please everybody, and they don't even show up and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I reached a point where I was like, okay, I've had it, fuck off. I mean, I do it myself. But I still didn't want to do like a solo thing. I mean, just like you say, we won't reveal too much about it, but you got to read about it in the Book of Heavy Metal. But anyway, But the thing is that actually, I liked my whole life. Basically, I struggled to get this kind of Kiss fantasy for strikingly cool individuals, and that is still a gang, sort of, or a small army or whatever. And if you cannot accomplish or achieve that, I just made it up.
I found it interesting later in life. I also was a huge fan when Kiss Alive came out, and I had first saw on a show called In Concert in America. this band where this guy's spitting blood out all over this. I've never seen anything like that, right? So who are these guys, you know? And then Kiss Alive came out, and we saw this record, and we're like, these guys are fantastic, you know? So, but Destroyer for me was just the best, you know, when that came out. But
may I ask how old
later
are you?
when I found out that there were studio musicians playing some of the lead guitars and other things, you kind of find out it is almost a cartoon band, you know?
Yeah, but I think they were the Archer. There's always been like bands like that are. What can I say? I need to. Well, hold on. I gotta get a beer here. But yeah. But I think Kiss is more of a brand than a band, and I like the whole concept. And to me, I was like a real nutcase for horror comics and superhero comics when I was a kid. And
I love creepy and eerie and all the horror magazines.
Yeah, and Werewolf at Night or Dracula, whatever it is.
Oh,
you know.
my gosh,
Yeah, but all those kind of things. I was like the Swamp Thing, and I was like really obsessed about that and really into comics. And I was listening, sort of half-heartedly or something to Deep Purple, Nazareth, and Sweet and all that. But when I discovered Kiss Destroyer in this store, I couldn't tell if it was what do you say, like a catalog or almanac or whatever the fuck it is. I mean, it's like, what is this? This got to be the whole coolest superhero comics, but it's actually an LP. So, and that sort of did it for me. And ever since, it's been my benchmark or my sort of formula. That is the way it's supposed to be. I cannot separate what I see from what I hear because of the production with Bob Ezrin, because it's so cinematic or full of fantasy. It's almost like you can close your eyes and just listen to an action movie. There are a lot of children crying, cars crashing, and all that. I mean, it's the most fantastic thing. And
those strange sounds on God of Thunder and all that.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
So good. And I really wanted them to do another album with Bob Ezrin, you know, and I understand why they wanted to go more for the raw feel. But
I gotta say this. I mean, you always end up in those kind of Kiss discussions, but they were so prolific back then. Like like most bands in the '70s, they released like 2-3 albums per year or something. So it's only 6 months later they put out Rock and Roll Over, and I bought it, of course. And the album cover looks different, but cool. You know, and I bought the first 4 when I discovered Destroyer. I went back and bought live album and first 3 studio albums, of course.
Exactly.
But anyway, when I got Rock and Roll Over, it's like, wow, I was so excited. I put it on. I listened to it over and over, and I went back to the store and said, something's wrong with this. It's not good. And they gave me a new copy, and it was the same. So it wasn't anything wrong with the album. But I mean, I just didn't like it. It was so kind of flat and boring compared to the
dry and flat by comparison.
Yeah.
It sounded more like one of their first albums than it did.
Yeah, but back then, you can see that in history. A lot of albums that we considered like masterpieces and classics, when they were released, they were received with a lot of critique, and people were like, they were not so sure about it. But over time, that has grown and become like the biggest album of their career. I mean, it has been a lot like that in rock history, I suppose. So
I thought Love Gun came closest to maybe, it had the nice artwork again. We went back to the painting on the cover.
Yeah, but
some of the songs were really strong, I think, on Love. So
especially it was a slightly more polished though, but it was still a continuation of Ken Kelly painting the artwork and stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
But I mean, let's be real, Christine 16 and Hooligan and shit. I mean,
no, I don't know how that even got or and then she kissed me.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that stuff got in there, but I love Kiss too, and so I can see that was a strong influence. I know we're running out of time. I did want to ask you, what do you think of the music industry today as opposed to like when there was no internet? I mean, now you can. Well, I
got to say there's a world of difference, and I have been so in. working so closely in the business, and I'm running my own record company, and I have a lot of insight, and I've been complaining and telling people how it actually is. I mean, that it's hard to earn money. Physical records don't sell anymore, and they say, yeah, but the vinyls are coming back big time and stuff. Yeah, but due to statistics, or based on statistics, it's like 80% of those people who buy LPs, they don't even have a turntable,
I know, or a big sound system or anything to go with that. But
to me, Spotify is perfect. You can have that in your phone, and you can listen to it offline if you're out walking in the woods or whatever. But the problem is that the money sort of get lost on the way, or with all the middle hands, so it doesn't end up in the pocket of the musicians, and that is the problem. I mean, but we were talking about this yesterday too, and I did some interview, and okay, maybe we should have given more credit to Lars Ulrich when he went into court and battled about this with Napster, I think it was called, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and people would say, yeah, you fucking greedy prick or something, but he was right. And also Gene Simmons been saying that rock and roll is dead, and then he sort of changed that to the rock and roll industry is dead. But people don't want to understand that either, and they gave him a hard time. But who's going to fight that battle if it's not AC/DC, Kiss, and Metallica and those giants? I mean, I cannot do it. Oh, I don't want to be on Spotify. Yeah, fuck you. Nobody cares.
I mean, streaming, what do you make, like a 16th of a penny or what, some ridiculous amount of money when someone plays your song, that you could have thousands of plays and make $30 or,
Yeah, but I read about, what's his name? Baby, I Love Your Way. What's his name? The guitar player from
Frampton comes alive.
Yeah. I think he got this what do you say? This check for, he had like 57 million streams or something like that, and he got a check for $700.
Oh my God! Yeah. I think they talked about. I'm a big fan of James Bond and the girl that sang Goldfinger, right?
Shirley Bassey.
She appeared on the she's great.
Goldfinger.
She appeared on the Oscars, and it created a surge in interest about her, of which she maybe sold 2,000 downloads. Yeah. So being on national TV on the Oscars, and all she gets out of it is, and that's probably gross. That's not even her cut, right? So.
But nowadays, I mean, in general, I got to say that the whole rock and roll business, I mean, I was doing this interview for a UK magazine, and they say, what do you have it? Fuck. Hold on a second. I'm getting another interview after this, and they keep calling.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, I was saying to this guy, he asked me, do you have any advice for young musicians and bands who want to make it in a career? And I said, don't. Because but then I sort of continued a little bit on that. Of course, you can play with your friends in a garage and have a good time doing whatever you want to do, but please don't quit your day job. I mean, you cannot make a living from this anymore,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, my last question, what's next for Snowy Shaw?
Right now, I'm just focusing on pushing for the book, and I'm really overwhelmed by the reception, and it's selling like hotcakes on a snowy day, like I say, funnily. but so things are going great, and I'm going to keep pushing for this and see where it ends, and then eventually I will start picking up on the music again and continue where I left off and, do new stuff. And, I mean, we're living in very hard times. Nobody knows what's going to happen next year. Are we ever going to be able to tour again and stuff,
Yeah, I have tickets to see Loudness in November, but I doubt that's going to happen, I have a feeling they're not going to make it to the States, so...
No, it's really tough, but this is not just one country. I mean, we have never in our lifetime seen anything like that. It's the Spanish flu or whatever happened. It's like 100 years ago. And so this is sort of, what do you say? I mean, it has fucking destroyed, and it's going to, if it continues like this, it's going to destroy all the economy all over the world,
Yeah, it's illegal in my state of Washington to live music right now. It's just illegal. You'd have a guy even in a corner with an acoustic guitar, You know what I mean? It's just
it's bizarre, and people have been trying to do those kind of live streams and all that, and it's not necessarily live either. I mean, they've been to the studio and mix it and master it and all that, and just you know, lip sync or whatever. But anyway, I mean, who's going to watch that? I mean, the part of the what's good going to shows or and, you know, it's because you hang out with your friends, drink beer, maybe soak up the whole atmosphere and the vibe and all that, and maybe if you get lucky, you get laid. So, but I mean, now you're sitting home watching, looking in your phone or something.
Yeah, everything from the mosh pit to, you know, stepping in someone's puke or whatever, right? You know, it's all part of the experience. So I missed that, and I hope that comes back. Well, I know you got another interview, so I just want to say thanks again for joining me for Express Radio. And
I'll talk to you soon, very soon again, so we can catch up there. Yeah.